Hi, welcome to Live Moments YouTube channel. In this tutorial, I will learn customization of Floral Wedding Slideshow After Effects template.
But before we do that, let's take a quick look at the content of this template. So after you downloaded the zip file from Envato Market and you unzipped it, you will find this content. You see that actually we have 4 different After Effects projects included, and the names already tell you that we have 2 different resolutions. So we have a Full HD resolution and 4K Ultra HD resolution. And we have 2 different versions. There is a short version and there is a long version for each of these resolutions. The short version is exactly the version that you see in the preview video. It is about 1 minute and 30 seconds long, and it has 22 placeholders for your videos and photos. The long version is more or less double of that, so it is approximately 3 minutes long, and it has 43 placeholders. Now, you can also find a links folder in here, and this is also important. If you want to use the same fonts that I used for this template, then you can download them right here. Here you see we have the Kepler font that is actually included in Adobe fonts. So if you have Adobe Creative Cloud, which you probably have, because otherwise you would not be able to use After Effects, then you can download this. And Poppy Shower is available for free on the font. So I would recommend that you follow these links, download the fonts, install them on your system, and then proceed with the customization. There's another link in here that leads you to Audio Jungle, to the music that I used for the preview video, but of course you can use any song that you want. So now let's go to After Effects and let's open up one of these projects. In After Effects, I just go to Open Project, and then I will just choose this short version, Ultra HD here, for the sake of this tutorial, and open it up. Please be aware that this template is compatible with all the After Effects CC versions, but it is not compatible with all the versions like After Effects CS6 and so on. So by default, you see that the render composition is already open. This is the composition where all the scenes are organized, and this is also the composition that you will export in the end when you want to render and produce your video. Now let's start to customize this project. First of all, I want to show you the color control that's right on top of our render composition. And in the Effect Controls panel, if this is not already open in your layout, by the way, you can go to Windows and activate it right here, Effect Controls. And you see we have some color controls in here. So the first one is called Change to Color. So what does this mean? Let me show you this. If you want to change the overall look of this template, you can do this by just changing the color of this controller. So maybe you want to have something like orange, warmer look, then you can just change the color here. We can intensify the saturation here a little bit maybe, and click OK. And now if you scroll through your timeline, you see that the whole look, or all these scenes, updated, and all the elements now have this nice warm look. So it's really simple to change the overall look of this slideshow. So the next control that you have is the title control. So let's move our time indicator to a scene where we can see titles. And let's make this obvious. I will just change this to this bluish color here, as you can see, or to a very harsh pink. And you see all the titles in the whole project automatically update their color. So you don't have to come in here and change the color of all of these text layers. You can do this with only one color control. So let's undo these color changes for a moment to be back at the standard layout. The next option is here, the color change intensity. And this is quite interesting. If you set this to 0, you see that the colors change. Now we have this greenish, bluish layout. And if we change now this change to color, it doesn't do anything. And this is because now you turned off the change to color. And these are actually the original colors. I painted all these elements really with watercolors on paper. Then I scanned them in, worked on this in Photoshop, imported it to After Effects, and animated it. And if you turn off the color change, then you get the original colors that I originally used to paint these on paper. So if you like this coloring, then you just turn off this color intensity and you get the original colors. Now, there's another option that you have here, and this is the gold-silver checkbox. If you check this on, you will see that all the gold elements that are inside this slideshow are turning into silver elements. So this is also quite interesting and can create quite nice look. So if you take a look here, also these splatters here, everything that is gold will turn into silver. So if I undo this now I have the gold back again here. If I check it, it is silver. So you can also create a nice silver layout. Now let's take a look how we can change titles and how we can add footages to our scenes. So to enter the scenes, you can just select them in the timeline and double click. You can also come here to the scene folder, and here you will find all the scenes that are used in this slideshow. In scene number 3, you see we have some titles and we have a placeholder right here. So let's start by customizing the titles. Some of the titles are just standard text layers, like this title here. It's just a text layer, so you can just come in here, double click, and enter your title. So it's easy as that. Now we change the title. Of course, you can now come in here, change the font, change the size, change whatever you want to change on the text layer. In this case, you see that I added these guidelines, and these are just approximate guidelines that should help you to create a nice layout. There is this little marker saying edit title at this marker. It's not that important, but you can do it. Place your time indicator at this marker, because then these guidelines are really lined up nicely with our floral elements, and then you can use this to just position your titles maybe a little bit better. It's not included in all of the scenes, but in some of them where I thought that it makes sense, I included these guidelines. If you don't want them, you can also go to View and you can just show guides or just turn this off. Now, you see that in some scenes I used these nicely animated capital letters. You see that they are building up nicely, they have a nice animation in there, and you can of course use these to create your own titles. So let's say we want to put in a name here, or let's just say we use the word name. I want to change this capital now. So this is not a font. I cannot just come in here and type something in, because this is a pre-made design element and we have to exchange it. Let me show you what I mean. Select this layer here in the composition, in the scene, and go to Design Elements. In this folder you can find all the design elements that are included in this slideshow, that build up this slideshow. And let me mention this here, a few months ago I released a design pack where all of these elements are included and that you can use to build your own designs. So if you are interested in all these floral elements and all these frames and everything you see throughout the slideshow, and all these watercolor background elements also, you can purchase this as a design pack. If you do not want to have this slideshow but only the elements, then you can purchase the design pack. The design pack is a little bit cheaper because the slideshow is of course a whole project, and it also contains all of the elements of the design pack. So here you get the slideshow and the design pack, but you can also get the design pack separately. Okay, so now to exchange the letters, you can go to this letters composition and open it up, or this folder I should say. And you see here we have the whole alphabet, and we also have this end sign that you can use in your designs. Now I want to put in letter or the word name, so I will choose my letter N, and the DE here stands for design element, just in case if you are wondering what this is here. So again, let's select the R, let's select the N, drag it down, hold your left mouse clicked, and then drag it over the layer, hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and just release the mouse. This way you can exchange elements in After Effects. And now you see I have the N, and it takes over the position, it takes over the scale, and now I will change the text here. So I will select the second text layer here, double click on it and put in my name. Oops, this was wrong. So like so, now I have the name in here. To position the title, I can now just select the letter, because these are actually linked, these two layers, and if you select the letter, then you can change the position of both, or of the whole title. Like so. You can also come in here and change the position of these words or of these letters separately if you want to change the distance between the letter and the capital letter and the small letters. And you see now the layout looks way better. Good, so this is how you can customize titles. Now let's enter some footage to this placeholder. You can use videos and you can use photos in this slideshow. To add some footage, we just open up the scene footage 1 placeholder, double click on this. you can access all the footage placeholders right here in the footage placeholders folder. Here you can find all of these, and they are named always after the scene they are used in. Now we are in scene 3 and we are using footage placeholder 1, so you can find this here as well. Now let's import an image. So I will go to File, Import, and import an image, and I will use just this nice stock photo that I got from unsplash.com. Let's drag it out here so that we don't have it inside any folder. Let's actually close this down. To add a footage, there is one important thing. You see that in this scene footage compositions, we always have this set matte layer and this matte frame layer. Do not change these two layers. So do not turn them off or on or delete them. You always need these two layers inside the footage placeholders. You can delete the placeholders or turn them off. These ones, these two, the red layers are not important, but the gray ones, don't touch them. And to add your image, you have to drag the image below the set matte layer, because then you have this nice framing here. If you don't do it, if you drag it on top, this will not work. So this is really important that you drag it below the set matte layer. Now you can just scale it. Maybe we turn off the alpha channel here to see it a little bit better. You can scale it and position your image to get a nice framing here. And then we go back to our scene, and you see now our bride is already in here. And that looks pretty cool. So this is how you can add footage to your scenes. And this works exactly the same for all the scenes. You see, there are some scenes that do not contain footage placeholders. In this case, you just have to or can edit the titles. And then there are scenes with multiple footage placeholders. Like here we have 2. Or let's take a look at the scene where we have really a lot of placeholders. It's this one. That's scene number 14. If we open this up, you see this looks a little bit more complicated because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 footage placeholders in here. And you also see that in some of these compositions I added a marker on the text layer that says edit title behind this marker. And this just means that before this marker the text is not fully revealed, not fully animated on. So if you want to edit your title and you take a look and see I cannot read it, I don't see what's happening, then just make sure that your time indicator is behind this little marker here, because then the text is fully revealed and you can nicely customize it. But everything else is exactly the same. You can come in here to the scene footages, and you see you also have this set matte where you then can just drag in your footage below this layer. Then you can again come in here, scale it, position it however you want, and then it is part of your scene. And this works also with videos, as I said. Okay, so let me tell you one more thing. I want to show you one more thing. For example, if you want to change the layout of a scene, then you can come in here and just unhide all the layers by clicking this little icon here. And then you will see all the elements that are used to build this layout. So, for example, if you want to change maybe these splatters in the background here, you can do so. You can come in here and then you can grab really every element that is building the design, move it around, turn it off, turn it on, or exchange it with other elements, with other design elements. So you can really access all of these elements, all of these designs, and change them to your needs. That's what I wanted to show you. And then in the end, of course, you go back to your render composition, and then you can go to composition, add to media encoder, or add to render queue, and export your video. Tutorial, I will show you how you can add additional scenes and how you can exchange the order of scenes. So let me quickly explain the structure of this template. If you take a look at the render composition, you see that the scenes are colored in a special way. There are these 3 orange scenes, and these always mark the end, or the beginning and the end of our slideshow. And I would recommend that you do not shift their position. So this one should always be in the front of the slideshow, and these 2 should be always in the end. We can change their content. I will show you this in a moment. But just from the timing, from the position, always leave them at the end and leave this one at the beginning. We can, of course, also change the number of compositions in between, and I will show you this now. Let me quickly talk about this coloring here. You see that there are 4 different colors that repeat in a pattern. And this has to do with the transitions. If you take a look here at the transitions throughout our animation, we have different directions. So this one is rotating out to the left, and the second one, scene number 2, is rotating in from the left. Then the next transition is doing the same but in the other direction. And then we have a straight dolly, another straight dolly, and then this transition circle repeats. So again, we are transitioning out to the left. And this is what is indicated by these colors. So if you want to exchange these compositions, the colors are a little bit important. Let me tell you one rule, that you can always exchange the position of compositions, or scenes, I should say, with the same color. So that means you can shift the scene, or can exchange the position of scene number 14 and scene number 2, or of scene number 6 and scene number 10. You can easily exchange scene number 7 with scene number 8, and always the same colors. Do not do it with the oranges though, just leave them as they are. Just a quick example, let's just, because it's funny, exchange scene number 5, which is this one here, with scene number, let's say 9, which is this title scene here. Let's say that your client wants to exchange these two. So you just go in here, drag this up here, move it over, zoom in a little bit, and just that you see that these line up nicely. Then you select this scene number 5, drag it down here, shift it over, and now you press U on this scene to reveal the transition keyframes, and make sure that the in point always lines up with this keyframe. So the third keyframe of the animation, the first keyframe of this out animation. If you line these up, the in point of this composition of this scene and this keyframe, the timing of the transition will always be perfect. And because we exchanged 2 scenes with the same color, the transitions will work automatically. And you see this works pretty nice. So this is how you can easily change the order if you exchange compositions of the same color. If you want to exchange compositions of different color, I will show you another way to do that. Let's say we want to change the content of, or the layout of this title with this. So your client says, I really like this title in scene number 9, but I want it to be here in scene number 2. And I want the title from scene number 2 to be here in scene number 9 on this position. Because they have a different color, we cannot just exchange them, because then the timing or the transitions will not work anymore. What you have to do in this case is also very simple. So let's do it. Let's exchange these contents. First of all, we open up scene number 2 by double clicking on it. Now we unhide all the elements that are in this scene. Let's press U on the rotation control to reveal its keyframes. Now make sure, and this is a very important step, that your time indicator is between 2 seconds and 5 seconds. So it should not be inside these keyframes here where any rotation is happening. Make sure that your time indicator is, let's say, on second number 3 here, or 3 seconds. Now we select all the elements that create this design. So all the elements except the camera and the rotation. And actually you also don't need to use, or don't need to select the background. So let's just select all the text layers and all the other elements like this. Now you go in here and to the parent and link tab. If you don't see this, press F4 on your keyboard maybe, or right click and go to columns and make sure that parent and link is activated. Now I have to select these again and unlink them. So just select none here. Now let's press Ctrl C or edit and copy. Okay, now let's go to our scene number 9 where we want to paste in these contents. So let's go in here, let's unhide everything. Let's move our time indicator to frame number 0. Let's select this layer and press Ctrl V, because then After Effects will paste in all the elements above the layer that you selected. Okay, now we know that these selected elements here are our new content. Now we just have to transfer the content from this scene back to scene number 2, and we do it exactly the same. So let's just unhide these keyframes, make sure that our time indicator is at a point in time where there's no rotation happening. You see the rotation is starting here in this. So the transition here is a little bit different. Let's just move it here. Let's select all of our other compositions. And in this case, you see that these are the compositions that are still linked to the rotation control. So let's just select all of them except the background. We don't need to change this. Let's deselect the linking. So let's set it to none. Let's press Ctrl X in this case, because then you cut them out. You can also go to composition or to edit, cut, Ctrl X or command on the Mac. Then let's go to scene number 2. Let's bring this in here. Actually, I could have cut it out here as well, but I just copied it, but it doesn't really matter. You just make sure that the time indicator is on frame number 0. You press Ctrl V. Now the new elements are in here. Now we can go back in here. We can turn these off or just delete them however you want. Now again, set your time indicator to a time where no rotation is happening, so in between these keyframes. Now select all the elements that you pasted in and link them just like that to this control. You can also just select all of them and then choose rotation control 2 right here. And now you see the transition is working and we have a new content in our scene number 2. If we go to scene number 9, we only have to do the same here. We select all our elements except the background because this is already linked and set it to rotation control. And now we exchanged the content and you see that our transitions are happening or working perfectly fine. So this is how you can exchange the content of 2 compositions or of 2 scenes. Now let me show you how you can add additional scenes to your layout. This is also quite simple. So if you take a look at the scenes, there is this folder with additional scenes, and these scenes you can use to add to your slideshow. They are not used in the slideshow yet. So the best way to do it is always to start with duplicating scenes that are already here, because then you have the right timing and the keyframes already available. So let's say we want to add in maybe another scene number 5. This nice layout here with this circular floral element and the 2 titles and 1 footage placeholder. We want to add it in, and we want to add it, let's say, at this point in time. So let's just duplicate our composition here, our scene, select it, press Ctrl D on your keyboard. Okay, so now let's drag this down here because we want it to be between scene number 14 and scene number 15. So we just align this here. Let's press U here again on this composition, on this scene. Line up our new composition with this in point. Let's do the same here. Let's select all of these following scenes that the timing is still intact, shift it over, hold down shift, and it snaps in place to this keyframe, and you see now the timing is good. One more thing that is important, if you add to the slideshow, if you add slides, you change the length here, so make sure that the work area is updated. So drag it out, hold down shift, that it snaps to the out point of this end scene here. Now if we take a look, we have a new scene in here, which is really good. So if you scroll through this, you see now we have another scene number 5, but we created just a duplicate. So it's no new scene, it's just a duplicate of scene number 5. To add the new scene, you now go in here, select the same scene that you duplicated with the same name, additional scene number 5, this one here, drag it down, or sorry, first of all you have to select it right here. That's important that you select it right here. Then you drag it down, hold down Alt, and release the mouse. And now you see we have the additional scene number 5 in here, and this is really now a new scene with new placeholders. The only slight problem that we have now, if you take a look here, is that the transition is not working perfectly. If this is a problem for you, you see here, this is rotating out to the left, this is rotating out to the right, then we just have to update a few keyframes, but it's really very simple. So let me show you how we can do that. If you take a look here, Usually at this point in time, there would be the transition or the keyframes of this composition because I shifted this over here. So we need the keyframes from this composition. So let's go into this one here, unhide all the elements, press U on the rotation control and just select the first two keyframes and copy them over. Now let's go back to our render composition and make sure to open up the new scene. So double click on the new scene. Unhide the elements, press U on the rotation control, and for now we will just turn off this rotation and just click this icon to delete the keyframes. Now with our time indicator on frame number 0, I will just paste this in here. Now if we go to our render composition and check this first transition, you will see now this works perfectly fine. And now we just need to set up this animation here. You see here now it's not really working because this one has no rotation animation yet. So we need to take over the animation that is in this one here in the end, because this was actually the transition that we now broke up. So let's enter scene number 14. Let's do the same here. Unhide these elements, press U on the rotation control, and let's take a look at this out animation, because this is the part that we have to apply to our new scene. So let's just select these keyframes. Let's take a look at the time indicator. Let's take a look at the timing here. We are exactly at 5 seconds. So let's copy these over and let's memorize these 5 seconds. Let's go to our new scene number 5. Go to 5 seconds, exactly 5 seconds. Select the set component here, the set parameter, press Ctrl V. And now, if we go to our render composition, now it should work. So this is how you can add an additional scene and update the transition so that everything works nicely. Now, I will give you one more hint. To make this a little bit easier, if you need more placeholders in your slideshow, you could always just duplicate patterns of 4 compositions, because then you do not break up the order of these colors and then you do not have to exchange any transition keyframes. Let me show you this as a quick example. Let's say your client says, I want to have more slides or more footages in my slideshow, and I want to have scene number 6, scene number 8, scene number 9, and scene number 10 added to this slideshow. So how can we do this? Well, it's actually really simple. You just select these in the render composition, press Ctrl D, drag it down, and let's say we want to add it right here, right behind scene number 5, the new scene. Because if we do that, we do not break up this coloring here. You see that this continues now, and this should work perfectly fine. Now, let's just select all of these scenes, and again, shift them over, press U here, as you saw it already before. Zoom in a little bit, select the new scenes, and line them up so that the timing is right. I hold down Shift and snap these in place here. Now I will do the same with the other compositions or the other scenes. The scenes that are below our new ones, I drag these over, hold down Shift and snap the in point here in place so that our timing is right. Now I go to my end scene here, press O on my keyboard to bring my time indicator right here, and then I press N to update the work area. So now you see we have these scenes in here. These are my new scenes. Scene number 7, scene number 8, scene number 5, and scene number 10. Okay, so what we have now is that the transitions should work fine. As you can see, these are really good, so there is no problem here. You don't have to change anything in the transitions. The only thing that we have to do now is that we have to exchange them with additional scenes. So let's go to scene number 7. If you take a look here, if we select this scene now, you see it's not used yet in this scene. If you take a look at these scenes, you see it's used one time. And this is a little bit important if you add additional scenes. Make sure that each scene is only used one time, because otherwise you just have the same scene 2 times in your slideshow, and this is not what you want. So let's take a look what I mean by that. Let's go to scene number 7. Let's go to additional scene number 7, drag it down, hold down Alt, and replace it. Good. Now you see this one is used one time in our slideshow. Let's go to scene number 8. Scene number 8, drag it down, hold down Alt. Now this one is used one time in our slideshow. Let's go to scene number 5. Go to scene number 5, additional, and you see this is already used. Well, what can we do here? This is a bit of a problem. And why is this now 2 times in here? Additional scene. This is because we changed the order here. And then I duplicated, and now I have scene number 5, actually the layout of scene number 5, I have it 3 times in here, but I only have one additional scene number 5. Now, if this happens, if you need a layout more than 2 times, and you don't have any additional scenes that are not used anymore, then you have to create your own. So let me show you this. We go to additional scene number 5, press Ctrl D, and just change the name to 5.1, let's say. Now we exchange these. I go in here because this one is now not used. As you see, it's not used, and this is good. So let's just drag this down, hold down Alt, and release the mouse. The only problem that we have now is that we still have these. Let me turn this off now. This footage placeholder is still referring to the footage placeholder of additional scene number 5. So we used this placeholder 2 times, but this is not good if we do that. So now if you go to the footage placeholders, you see that there is this folder with the additional placeholders. So these are the placeholders for the additional scenes. And if you search for additional scene 5 footage 1 now, let's see, additional scene 5 footage 1, you see it's used 2 times. And that should not happen. You want these to have only 1 time, only use it 1 time. So what we have to do, we have to create a duplicate. Let's go inside here, let's select it, let's Ctrl D. And now to keep the naming intact, let's go in here. Let's say we call it footage 5 scene, footage 5.1, bring it down here, Alt click, drag it down, release the mouse. And you see now it's only used 1 time. Now you created a new version of scene number 5. And actually now you have the additional scene number 5 in here 1 time. And then we have the other additional scene 5.1 in here with a new placeholder, and everything is working. Okay, so I hope that this was not too complicated. If you have any questions regarding the template, then please feel free to contact me. You can either contact me through my website, which is www.graphicmotion.com. There you can find the contact form and my email address, but you can also contact me directly through my VideoHive profile. Again, thank you very much for choosing my template. Have fun and create nice project with it. Thanks for watching, and I really hope to see you soon. Goodbye.